one of which is with Celsius, and it's been through the messaging system of YouTube. And I apologize, Celsius. I tried putting a response to you, but the YouTube said the response was too long, so I figured another video would work for now, and I can kind of respond to some of the stuff you had said in there. It's also somewhat of a response to some of the other comments on the on your video, where it was pretty much me and about 8 people against one another. Okay, first and foremost, what I had said about worldviews, I think, has been completely misunderstood, and I think that's because you think, and a lot of people who are like, Celsius primarily, so this is addressed to, think that when I say worldview, I'm referring to Christian worldview or liberal and conservative worldview. Those are political philosophies. I'm not talking about one minor worldview. I'm talking like the worldview, the huge worldview that an individual has that answers fundamental questions about reality. Metaphysical worldview. Now, if you watched my primer on philosophy video, I kind of give a very quick, down and dirty, extremely basic understanding or an introduction to this. And everything will focus around the question of, does God exist? And objectively, there's only a yes or no answer. Subjectively, and this involves the religious aspect, do you believe there's a God? Do you believe you don't know there's a God? Or do you not believe in God? And I'm going to argue, Celsius, that what I'm trying to push for is the essentialist worldview, or the pre-modern worldview, as the basis for reality. Now, science can work in both the essentialist and the non-essentialist. Excuse me. But in the existentialist, that worldview that I was talking about, that would be the view, for example, of Nietzsche, who I actually quite am fond of, because if I were an atheist, I would be a nihilist, and I would think he pretty much had it right. That worldview is existentialism. That's purposeless matter in motion. That means the universe is dynamically chaotic. That means there are no cause and effect relationships. Remember the whole thing I talked about no cause and effect? Well, there's no cause and effect relationships in the existentialist worldview. That's the worldview that says that there are no absolute moral facts. It's what you think for yourself, or what a society thought for itself. People who accept science as basically scientific materialism would not be existentialists. They would actually be modernists. And actually, what Nietzsche was doing when he said God is dead is he was critiquing the modernists. He wasn't talking to Christians at all. He was talking to those that were treating God as if he might be some existent force out there, either in a deistic sense, or he might not exist, agnostic, whatever. And he said, come clean, just say, God's dead, you've killed him, and you don't believe that he exists. That's what the God is dead, the crazy monk, is in his story. He's talking to the scientists, the intelligentsia. That's who it is for. Now, a couple things about the gay marriage issue, to get back on that. The reason I seem like I was going all over the place is because I'm tying together a bunch of facts, and I'm trying to show a strong correlation. And I'm putting gay marriage as simply one more step in the road. Now, again, as I said, it's going to happen, at least with regard to the social policy. But I think we need to really look at some things that you said, that at least in our private correspondence, that kind of contradict some things. For example, you did say within our message that you said that marriage is just a piece of paper. And that is troubling to me, because if it's just a piece of paper, then it doesn't matter what society decides. It's just a piece of paper. No one who's married will say it's just a piece of paper. That comes from someone who either you're not married, you don't know many people are married, their marriages really suck, if you do know people, etc. People that I know who are married know it's much more than marriage, even those who are secularists. So, there's another couple of issues. Those who cannot have children and who get married. Someone was arguing that, well, they should get a divorce. Well, no, you missed my point. There's two aspects to person's behavior in society. One is that an institution is for those who it's specifically made for. Marriage is specifically for making children and taking care of the future generation. That is exactly what it's for. Now, those that cannot have children can still get married if they're of the opposite gender, because what they're doing is they're providing an exemplar an example. Exemplar is the term, the person who does an example. It is meant to show other people what the proper relationship for marriage is. Now, the other argument or question that was brought up was show you a study that that says that, for example, gay adoption is bad for kids. Well, I can't really do that because I can point to the vast body of literature prior to maybe 1980 that was really worried about single parents and their children. Now, of course, the understanding is, well, single parents can raise their kids just fine. And you know what? They can. But it's not the ideal situation, and the government does not, therefore, then give equal status to single parents over stable families and adoption. That's not at all, I would argue, bigoted. That's taking care of the child. That's supposed to be the fundamental point of adoption. And if there's no other person around or no other group that is as good, for example, if it's a heterosexual couple that's not stable, then yeah, gay adoption is fine. Because it's the only other option. And I would rather have a stable homosexual environment for a child to be raised in than a unstable heterosexual relationship. That would be completely irrational to give it to the other one. But I can point to that vast body of scientific literature, and you can just say, well, that was prior to some time, and we're smarter now, and some other bull crap. Then, of course, I can also point to studies done today, for example, by some family institutes that are against gay marriage. Well, then someone will say, well, then they're biased. Well, so are the groups that are pro-gay marriage. Because I've seen literature that says, I've literally seen studies in literature that say it's bad for children. I've seen studies that say it's inconclusive or there's no effect at all. And then I've seen some that have actually argued from the homosexual point of view that it's better for kids to have gay marriage. Okay, well, once you're consistent in your responses, then maybe I can point you to a specific study. But I'm not looking to a study. I'm looking for historical correlation. That's I would argue, the best idea I have. And one of the reasons I pointed to this is that ancient Greeks and Romans had homosexuality and they did not have gay marriage. They were expected to marry somebody who was the opposite gender to let the race go on. That is the point of marriage. Society recognizes this. Now there's two sides to marriage. There's the religious aspect and the societal aspect. And if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. You have no historical foundation for that disagreement. It is very present in every society. It is both done as a sacred institution. Why? Because it involves making life, making babies. And it involves the agreement to raise those children. Now, can you have children without being married? Yeah, I would argue that's a mistake. Because it's not ideal. Not just for the child, it's not ideal for you to get into a possible legal problem with somebody and to not be married to them for the standpoint of taking care of future generations. So, that's one. The other one that you told me was that rape and, let's see here, rape and, I can't remember what the other one was, whatever, have always been with us. Well, that doesn't matter, because society's always looked down on rape and adultery. We've always looked down on them. So to say that they've always been with us is, again, the genetic fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. So again, that's all I'm going to say for right now. My video's running out. That happened at the end of the last video. So, take care, and if I have any more things to say, I'll respond to you in writing or in another video.